Hello everyone, my name is Ririko. Today I'd like to do a full everyday makeup look. I'm a Japanese living in Tokyo, and I love to buy and try makeup from different countries. This time I'll be introducing not only Western products, but also products from Japan and Korea. The first step is to use a tissue to absorb excess oil from the skin before applying the primer. This is a small process, but it is a very important step to make sure your makeup stays put. The area around the eyes also tends to smudge, so use a tissue to the edge of the eyes. Then apply the primer. This time I'm gonna use Innisfree Tone Up No Sebum Sunscreen. Innisfree is a Korean brand, but it's also available in Japan. It's matte finish with a toning effect, so it's a little too light for my skin. But I'll be applying foundation afterward, so it's not a problem. I have oily skin, but my skin is peeling a little because I'm currently using tretinoin. So I think this is a good primer for people with oily skin rather than dry skin. In Tokyo, we still have to wear masks, both indoors and outdoors. Out of all the primers I have, this one seems to be the most resistant. The finished face looks like this. You can see it is slightly lighter than my neck color. Then I'll apply foundation. Right now, I'm using this one from Yves Saint Laurent. The color is BD40. It's a little too dark for my skin, so I mixed a green primer with it. This primer is from a Japanese brand called Time Secret. I already put it directly into the bottle and add it and mix it until it matches my skin. This is a technique that was introduced on Alexandra Anelet's channel, and she has the same olive undertone as me, so I used that as a reference, and it turned out to be the perfect color match for me. First, I put a little bit of foundation on the areas where I see blemishes, and let it dry a little bit while applying foundation to the larger areas. This is because the coverage of the foundation increases as it dries, so use it as a spot concealer in that area. This is also something I learned from Alex Bizel. The sponge is from EcoTools. This is pretty old and almost ready to tear, but it's still usable. I don't really like this sponge because it's a little too firm for me, but I've been using it with this foundation for a while now because it applies beautifully without any problems. This foundation is more of a dewy finish, and it has medium coverage. I like this because it makes my skin look vibrant, like when you get a good night's sleep and wake up refreshed in the morning. By the way, this foundation is now discontinued, but I think they sell a renewed version of the same series. So if you are interested, please check it out. Next, I use this powder from Charlotte Tilbury. Color is Fair number 1. This color is just a little too pink for me, but I can use it. I use a wet Juno & Co. microfiber sponge to apply it. I am also out of this powder, so it's pretty tough, but I take the powder with the sponge and tap it on from the center of my face. I actually prefer a dewy finish, but since I'm wearing a mask all day, I'm applying the powder a bit heavily. Personally, I don't think this Charlotte Tilbury powder is as good as people say it is. I've never had a powder that I felt super good, so I'd like to find a holy grail powder in the future. By the way, Charlotte TV is not sold in Japan, so I buy it from online stores like Cult Beauty. The next step is to put a setting spray on the face. I'm using a setting spray from Catrice. There are two types of setting sprays, those that contain a lot of polymers and those that don't contain that much. At this stage, I apply a setting spray that does not contain many polymers. This will help the powder stick to the skin and make the highlighter and blush apply better. Next up, I do eyebrows. First, I use a very thin eyebrow pencil to draw the end of my brow. I use a super slim eyebrow pencil from Cezanne. Cezanne is a very famous drugstore brand in Japan. I use this pencil to draw the shape of the end of my eyebrows. And then fill in the inside with Anastasia's brow powder. I use the shade Taupe. I've been using for a very long time, so it's already shadowed. For the brush, I'm using a Sigma brush, but the bristles have spread out and got thicker, so when I run out this pencil, I'm gonna buy a Hakuhodo eyebrow brush. I start from the bottom of the eyebrow and blend it upwards. This technique narrows the space between the eyes and the eyebrows. For your information, I have my eyebrows waxed at ABH Eyebrow Salon in Tokyo. There is a slight difference between the left and right eyebrows, but I don't mind. Then it's time to move on to eye makeup. I've been using this Fenty Beauty eyeshadow primer. This primer has a tacky finish, so if you don't use powder to set it, it makes it easier to glittery eyeshadow to adhere. Today I'm gonna set it with the powder because I wanna prevent creasing. Next, I use Colourpop Cream Gel Liner. I've always had a problem with the eyeshadow on my lower eyelid disappearing easily due to tears. But I found that if I use this liner before applying shadows, it doesn't disappear all day. I fill in the lower eyelid with this. I'll apply shadows on top, so you don't need to worry about details. Use a darker color for the outer corner to add depth. This pencil dries quickly, so I immediately apply a shadow over the top. Today, I use Colourpop Super Shock Shadow in the color Rosebud and blend it with a pencil. For me, this gel liner is a holy grail product. I was really surprised when I tried this for the first time how well it stays put. Then apply the rosebud shadow on the upper eyelid, focusing on the inner corner of the eye. For the outer corner of my eyes, I prefer to extend the shadow a little longer. To diffuse the edges, I'm gonna use Sonia G Jumbo Blender brush. I apply rosebud color to the other eye in the same way. Then, spread a darker shade from the outer corner. I'm gonna use this color, Basic Instinct, a lovely orange brown. Finally, apply the darkest color. This color is Free Rain. Apply the darkest color to the outer corner of the eye. Also apply it to the lower eyelid, where I applied the dark gel liner earlier. Blend it out with a brush. And done. After finishing the eyeshadow, I apply a blush that matches my eye makeup. For the blush, I'm gonna use a color called Suspicious from a Japanese brand, Addiction. The key is this big brush. It's a fan-shaped squirrel hair brush from Yojiya. Take a little bit of this brush on this brush and apply it in a light stroke. I highly recommend using a large soft brush because it allows you to apply dark colors very naturally. I bought this brush because a Japanese makeup artist named Yasuo Yoshikawa used it for blush. It cost about $120, but I'm really glad I bought it. The next step is to apply the highlighter. This is another product I love, Illamasqua Beyond Powder in the shade OMG. I'm gonna apply this with the Hakuhodo highlighting brush. This is a gold hairbrush. This highlighter has a beautiful peachy gold sheen to it. I like to apply highlighter a little bit intense, so I use a gold hairbrush that has a strong payoff. I apply it to my cheekbones, brow bones, bridge of my nose, chin, and cupid's bow. For your information, Hakuhodo website has instructions on how to use different types of makeup brushes, so I put the link in the description box below. Now that the complexion makeup is done, it's time to go back to the eyes. First, I'm gonna apply a mascara base. This mascara base is from a Japanese brand called Etuse. This is a limited purple version. I use black mascara on top of it, so the purple color doesn't show up. But many people in Japan use this mascara by itself as a color mascara. My favorite thing about this base is that it has a lot of fibers in it, so it gives my lashes a lot of length. I have straight eyelashes, so I need a mascara base to keep them curled up. In Japan, there is a pretty good selection of mascara bases, so I usually use a Japanese one. I wanna let the mascara base dry, so I'll complete my eyebrows in the meantime. This time, since the eyeshadow is brownish, I'll use ABH eyebrow mascara to make my eyebrows more brownish. I use the shade Brunette. A Japanese makeup artist said that if you knit your eyebrows like this, the eyebrows will stand up from the skin, and it will be easier to apply mascara, so that's how I apply it. You can see my right eyebrow is more brownish and less dark. I use a hot eyelash color, so I turn it on at this point. I use a Panasonic one. To finish off my brows, I use NYX Pro Glue to keep eyebrow hairs in place. I heard some people say that they don't like this sticky texture, but I like this because my eyebrow hairs are very thin. So this kind of sticky texture helps my eyebrows stay in place. I've also used Benefit 24-hour brow setter, but I didn't like it as much because it was hard to apply. Lastly, I'm gonna apply mascara from Marc Jacobs. I bought this a long time ago at Sephora when I was traveling abroad. I like to apply a lot of mascara, so once I've applied the mascara, I press the hot color against my lashes to create the curl, and repeat this process a few times. As for this mascara, I like the volume, but it smudges a little bit on my eyes. For the lips, I'm gonna use the Juicy Lasting Tint from a Korean brand, Romand. I really like this. It gives a beautiful shine, but the color lasts very well. This lip tint is very popular in Japan. I chose the brownish color called Dark Coconut. I have a lot of different colors of this Romand lip, so if you wanna see a dedicated video, please comment down below. That's it. Here's the finished look. The highlighter from Illamasqua has a beautiful peachy glow to it. I highly recommend it. As a bonus content, I also tried it with another Korean lipstick. First of all, I wiped off lipstick. Can you see some of the color left on my lips? I only wore it for a few minutes, so if I wear it for a longer period of time, I'm sure the color will stay on even more noticeable. What I'd like to show you is Aura Du Tint from another Korean brand called Marzi. This color is called Burnt Sienna. It's also a glossy lip tint, but the color is more brownish than the previous one, giving it a more glam look. This lip tint also stays on really well, so I highly recommend it. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you like this vibe, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below. See you in the next video. Bye!